Hey guys, it's Sarah and I'm here to show you how to make a hand knit pillow. So I have my yarn here that I got at Michael's and some polyfill that I'm going to stuff the pillow with. So let's get started. So you're going to start with your end. I'm going to leave a tail about 18 inches to 2 feet long, and you're going to start with a slip knot. So you're going to cross it over like this and then pull the yarn through just for a little slip knot. This yarn is not that thick. It's not as thick as like the wool I used for the hand knit blanket, if you saw that. So I'm going to do the loops kind of small. You could do 2 to 3 fingers. If it's 3 fingers, I would do it pretty tight if you're using this yarn, but maybe even more like 2 fingers. You have your slip knot. You're going to stick your fingers through your slip knot and you're going to pull the yarn through. So now you have 2 loops. You're going to do it again. Stick your fingers through and you're going to pull through. So that's 3. You're going to keep going for your desired number. I'm going to do 12. So now you have a chain stitch, 12 on it. I did it pretty small because once you get it completely made, if the loops are huge and you can see through them, you're going to see the filling inside. So whether you use like a pillow form or polyfill like I have, you don't really want to see it through the stitches. So I did pretty tight stitches. So now you have your tail. It's over here from the beginning. I'm going to loop my tail through this last stitch just so the stitch stays and I can tell where I started. And so that's connected it. So now it's like a circle. You can see, and my tail is coming through the last stitch just to hold its place. Sometimes that stitch gets pulled out when you're pulling from the working yarn that's attached. So now there's your circle. This is going to be the center of the pillow on one of the sides, and so you're going to take your working yarn that's at the back of this and you're going to pull it through this stitch. So you'll see on the circle on the outside, if you lay it flat, on the outside are all these little humps and you're going to go through each one. So this is where we left off. We're not going to go through that because that was the last stitch we did. So we're going to find the first one, which is right here, and we're going to pull through it. Pull. I'm going to do it little, so I'm still doing about 2 fingers or 3 smushed together. Little, and I'm going to go to the next loop. It's right there. Pull through. Next loop. You're going to go all the way around like that. If you're using a really fat like wool yarn, you can do bigger loops because it kind of fills in more. It's a chunkier, fuller yarn. And how many stitches you do is totally up to you. I did 12 because I don't want too huge of a pillow. You can do 14, 15. You could do a small pillow, do 8. Just kind of play with it. These don't take that long to make. So if you made one and you wanted a smaller one, it wouldn't be hard to either take that one apart and do it again or get another skein of yarn and make a smaller one. So we're going around the circle, all those little outside loops. Like this. And now I know that we're almost back to where we started because since I marked it with the tail is coming out of this loop. So this was the last one. So we're going to pull the tail out because now we're going to go through that loop. And we're going to take this yarn that was going through the loop before and we're going to pull it through. And so now we've completed the whole thing. We're going to keep going and we're going to go through these over and over and over again. So keep your stitches the same size. You don't want it to all of a sudden do a huge loop because it's going to make it look really funny. And you don't want to leave the gaps in between. It's easy for these loops to spread out like this. You don't want to leave these huge gaps like this where it's real loose on the back. It's going to leave a real big gap, which is going to show all the filling. So do a small loop and kind of try to do them close together. As it spreads out, it gets harder to do that. So we're going to keep going around. Now you can definitely use, like you can make a big one and use your whole skein of yarn. I'm honestly just going to kind of play it by ear and see how big it's getting and just stop when I feel like it's big enough. So now you can tell we're back here. Here's the tail. We're going to keep the tail. We don't want to lose it. So now I'm starting the next row. And so it's already kind of spreading out where this loop's here. And if I come over here, see how it's leaving a huge gap? So I'm going to kind of try and fold it up so that the stitches are closer together. So you're still going to go every stitch. It's just going to be kind of folded to get the stitches closer together so that they're not trying to spread out so much. Keep doing the same size stitches and you're just going to keep going around. And so now that we have it kind of folded, you're going to have to kind of flip it around on its side. Now my stitches are really small, and so sometimes with small stitches it's really easy for them to kind of get yanked out as you're moving things around, but that's okay. It's pretty much always easy to find, if it gets pulled out, it's pretty much always easy to find the yarn that was in there and stick it back through. So don't freak out if the loop gets pulled out. If you come around and like this is like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? No big deal. Just pull it back through that loop. If you really just take the time to stay calm, you can always figure out where the yarn is and where it's supposed to be. So like I said, I'm using this. It's not really chenille, I don't think, but it's very, very soft. It's a yarn I got at Michael's. You can use any kind of yarn you want that's thicker. It'd be really, really hard to do with a thin yarn because you would see all of the gaps. Whatever you stuffed it with would definitely show. So you want something thicker, fuller, cozy. So whether you find something at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon, I'll definitely put some links in my tutorial. This yarn is about close to 1 inch wide. Just to give you kind of reference, I know the wool one that I used for the blanket was much thicker. I mean, it's probably twice as thick as this, so more like 2 inches. I probably wouldn't go too much thinner than this one. This one's real fluffy, so it kind of helps fill in the gaps, which is nice. So you're just gonna keep going. You can kind of already see it taking form. So like I said, just keep going until it looks like the size that you're wanting. Which I know it's kind of hard to tell, so like you can kind of pretend, okay, like this is the size that would be like this. And you can keep kind of get an idea of it. I gotta see where I was. So I'm gonna do a little bit more. Okay, I think we're about good. I'm gonna go and stuff it, see what it looks like. See if it's where I want it. So to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and close this end off. So this is where we started. To close it off, I'm going to take this tail, the tail that we saved, and I'm going to weave it through every other. See these loops right here? And weave it through every other. So I went through that one, so now I'm going to go through this one. And as I go, I'm going to kind of pull the loops together towards the tail. So now I'm going to go through this one. And you're going to pull the loops over. You want to be real tight so that the hole doesn't really show much. Slide it. Okay, I did it. The hole is real tiny. I'm going to stick my tail through there. I'm going to reach inside, pull it all the way through from the inside. Okay. Now, if you can see, it's really hard to see with this dark in there, but I'm going to take the tail, I'm going to weave it through some of these loops that are on the inside just to keep it attached to something. I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to leave it that way in case I need it for something. In case you decide to undo the pillow one day, you want your yarn back. Something comes unwoven, you have all this extra inside here. So I just wove it through a couple, and really you can just leave the end loose because you're just going to have polyfill in there anyways, or a pillow form. Okay, so now that end's done, I'm going to stuff it with some polyfill. I have my big ol' bag of polyfill. Okay, I'm going to close it up a little bit to make sure I have a good amount in there. Okay, and to close it up, we're going to need a tail, just like we had on the other side. And so I'm going to cut about a 2-foot tail. It's looking like it's going to be a cute little small pillow, the size that I want. So I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to get about a 2-foot tail so I have plenty. I'm going to cut it. And then I'm going to take this tail, I'm going to weave it through every loop. So you see all around are the loops. I'm going to take it and weave this tail, just stick it through the loop. Keep going all the way around through the loop. This is how you're going to cinch it closed, just like we did on the other side. Just a little bit different way of doing it since this side is completely open. Through the loop. You can do it all the way around. If one of these loops is pulled out, see how it's so spread out and I've stuffed it? Sometimes these loops will be pulled out like this. So remember how we said you can always tell where it came from. You'll see a loop that's by itself and the sticking here, and so you'll just pull it back through that loop. I don't want you guys to be working on yours and get alarmed when something crazy like that happens, because when I make stuff, that seems to always happen. There's always some loop that I'm like, wait, what the heck? Where'd you see? This is about to pull through right here. It's gonna come out. So that stuff happens. It's no big deal. Do not give up. Do not unravel your project. There's almost always a way to fix it without having to undo everything. Okay, so now you're just gonna pull it to cinch it. You wanna be careful. You don't wanna pull too hard in case your yarn's more fragile. You also wanna make sure that it's stuffed the way you want. So I actually could add a little bit more stuffing in here to polyfill than I thought. So let me grab a little bit more. Kind of push it around, get it where you want it. Okay. So like I was saying, some yarns are fragile, and if you really yank them, the string inside that they're made out of is not very strong and it will snap. So don't just yank it. I'm kind of like pulling, but I'm also pushing the loops over at the same time to try and cinch everything tight without just completely breaking the yarn. This yarn seems really tough, but when I'm at the end of a project, I'm not trying to test how tough it is to see if it'll hold up. I really want it to hold up. Okay, so now I'm gonna take it, see the hole's barely there. I'm gonna kind of loop it through basically anything that I find that won't be obvious. So on the inside, here's a loop towards the inside of the circle, and I'm going to loop it through there. You're just trying to kind of close it off without making a huge knot that's obvious. So I'm gonna see if I can find, it's kind of hard. I did a good job cinching it, so it's hard. Find another loop, I'm gonna stick it through there. And like I said, I'm not going to cut this off. I like having the extra in case I need it. I'm gonna loop through one more time, right here, and then I'm going to stick this whole thing inside the pillow, which I made the hole so small. It's not the easiest, but stick it in all the way. So you can even leave like a little knot sticking out like that, or you can tuck it in all the way like that. So it kind of has to be, you know, smushed and made into the right shape. But since it's tight, the stitches are tight, you can see, you can't really see the polyfill through it at all. Okay guys, that is how you hand knit a little pillow. You can make one as small and as big as you want. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was easy. Look in the description area to find the link to the tutorial so that you can see. I'll link to the yarn I used and other options if I can find other great options. And hopefully the yarn I used will still be online by the time you're watching this video. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more videos. Bye guys!